The storm arrived over New York just before midnight. Rain crashed against the windows of the black town car as Gabriel Hart sat in silence beside the glowing skyline. Lightning flickered between skyscrapers while the city below moved like a restless ocean of headlights, ambition, and hidden sins. To the public, Gabriel Hart was a monster. Business magazines called him ruthless. News stations described him as the billionaire who crushed smaller companies without mercy. Online articles painted him as the reason hundreds of workers lost jobs during the collapse of Reeves Financial Group 6 years earlier. Most people hated him. One woman hated him more than anyone. Her name was Isabella Reeves. And tonight, she was about to walk straight into the world of the man she blamed for destroying her family. But before this unforgettable story begins, hello beautiful viewers. Wherever you're watching from tonight, I truly hope life is treating you kindly. Tell me your city and country in the comments and let me know how you're doing. And if you enjoy emotional Hollywood-style stories filled with suspense, romance, betrayal, redemption, and shocking twists, don't forget to subscribe to the channel because this journey is going to stay with you long after it ends. Because sometimes the villain everyone fears is actually the person trying hardest to protect others. And sometimes the real monster hides behind kindness. Isabella stepped out of the taxi and stared at Hart Global Tower rising into the rainy sky. The building looked less like an office and more like a fortress made of steel and glass. Her pulse tightened. 6 years ago, her father entered this same building desperate for help. 3 months later, he lost his company. 2 months after that, he died from a stroke brought on by stress, humiliation, and betrayal. Isabella still remembered standing beside his hospital bed while machines beeped softly in the darkness. She remembered his trembling voice. "I trusted the wrong people," he whispered. Then he closed his eyes forever. Every newspaper blamed Gabriel Hart. That was the day revenge became Isabella's purpose. She entered the building carrying a forged resume, a fake recommendation letter, and years of hatred carefully hidden behind calm eyes. She was going to work inside Gabriel Hart's company. And she was going to destroy him. The elevator climbed toward the executive floor while her reflection stared back at her from polished steel walls. She expected fear. Instead she felt anger. The doors opened. And Gabriel Hart looked nothing like the man she imagined. He stood near the enormous windows overlooking Manhattan, tall and sharply dressed in a charcoal suit. Dark hair streaked slightly with silver framed a face marked not by cruelty, but exhaustion. His eyes unsettled her most. They didn't look arrogant. They looked tired. Gabriel turned slowly toward her. For one strange second, silence filled the room. Then he spoke. "You're late." His voice was deep, calm, controlled. "The rain delayed traffic," Isabella answered. He studied her carefully. Not flirtatiously. Carefully. As though he noticed details nobody else bothered to see. Finally he nodded once. "You'll be assisting the communications department directly under executive management. Mistakes here are expensive. Cold. Professional. Distant." There it was. The villain. Yet as Gabriel walked past her, Isabella noticed something unexpected beneath the expensive cologne and carefully controlled posture. Loneliness. The following weeks confused her more than she wanted to admit. Inside Hart Global, employees feared Gabriel's strictness but respected him deeply. A janitor quietly revealed Gabriel paid for his wife's cancer treatment. An accountant admitted Gabriel funded scholarships anonymously for employees' children. A security guard confessed Gabriel once sat beside him for hours after learning his son died overseas. None of it made sense. Monsters didn't do those things. At night Isabella searched through archived company files looking for proof of corruption connected to her father's collapse. Instead she discovered irregular transfers connected to a charity foundation owned by another billionaire. Nathaniel Crowe. Unlike Gabriel, Nathaniel was adored publicly. He smiled for cameras. He donated millions publicly. He sponsored hospitals and youth programs. The city called him a saint. Isabella trusted him completely because her father once described Nathaniel as the only honorable man in business. But the deeper she investigated, the stranger things became. One evening Isabella found an old deleted contract hidden inside an encrypted database. Her breathing slowed. Her father's signature appeared at the bottom. Forged. She checked again. The handwriting was manipulated. Someone framed Daniel Reeves years ago. And Gabriel Hart's approval signature had been inserted afterward. As if someone wanted Gabriel blamed. Footsteps echoed behind her. Isabella slammed the laptop shut. Gabriel stood in the doorway. "You should go home," he said quietly. She crossed her arms. "I couldn't sleep." Neither could he apparently. His tie hung loose tonight. Fatigue shadowed his expression. Then he surprised her. "What happened to your father?" The question hit her chest painfully. "Why do you care?" she asked. Gabriel's eyes darkened. "Because I know what it feels like to lose someone while the world blames you for it." Isabella stared at him. That wasn't the answer she expected. "People believe headlines," Gabriel continued softly. "Truth is usually uglier." "Are you saying you're innocent?" He held her gaze. "I'm saying I made mistakes. But not the ones people think." Then he walked away. That night Isabella barely slept. Because for the first time in 6 years, she feared she might hate the wrong man. Days later the city hosted a luxury charity gala inside the Grand Meridian Hotel. Crystal chandeliers glowed above politicians, celebrities, and billionaires moving through the ballroom like royalty. Gabriel attended because appearances mattered in his world. Every whisper judged him. Isabella attended because she carried himself with quiet indifference. Every camera followed Gabriel. Hatred exhausted him too much to fight anymore. Then Nathaniel Crowe approached. "Isabella," Nathaniel said warmly, embracing her gently. "Your father spoke about you constantly." Emotion tightened her throat. "You knew him well." "Like family." Gabriel's expression hardened immediately. The tension between the two men became suffocating. Nathaniel smiled politely toward Gabriel. "Still making enemies everywhere you go?" Gabriel's voice turned dangerously calm. "Still pretending to care about people?" Nathaniel laughed lightly. But his eyes didn't. Later that evening Isabella stepped onto a balcony overlooking the snowy city streets below. A nervous man suddenly emerged from the shadows. "You need to stop investigating your father's case," he whispered urgently. Isabella froze. "What?" "Your father was set up. Gabriel Hart wasn't responsible." Her pulse exploded. "Who are you?" The man opened his mouth to answer. A gunshot shattered the night. Blood sprayed across the marble railing. The stranger collapsed instantly. Guests screamed. Chaos erupted. And through the terrified crowd, Gabriel Hart was already running toward Isabella. Not away from danger. Toward it. The police ruled the shooting a gang-related incident. Isabella knew better. Someone silenced that man before he could expose the truth. And someone knew she was investigating. Fear settled inside her chest for the first time. That same night Gabriel drove Isabella home himself. Rain blurred the city lights outside the windshield. "You're in danger now," Gabriel said quietly. "Because of my father." He remained silent too long. Finally he answered. "Yes." Her voice shook. "Tell me what happened 6 years ago." Gabriel gripped the steering wheel harder. "Your father uncovered evidence against powerful people." "Who?" "I don't have enough proof yet." "Was it you?" Pain crossed Gabriel's face. No. One word. Honest. Exhausted. Raw. And Isabella believed him. That terrified her more than anything. Over the next several weeks Isabella and Gabriel grew closer through danger, secrets, and sleepless nights searching for answers hidden beneath years of lies. Behind Gabriel's cold public image, Isabella discovered a deeply wounded man. Years earlier Gabriel trusted business partners who used his company to hide illegal financial operations. By the time he realized the truth, innocent families had already suffered. Including Isabella's. He carried that guilt every day. One night during a citywide blackout, Isabella and Gabriel became trapped inside Hart Global's emergency operations room while thunder rolled across Manhattan. Only candlelight illuminated the room. For the first time, Gabriel spoke honestly about himself. "My mother used to say power reveals character," he said quietly. "And what did power reveal about you?" Isabella asked. Gabriel stared into the candle flame. "That I was blind enough to trust monsters." Silence settled between them. Then Isabella whispered, "You're not the man people say you are." He looked at her carefully. "You shouldn't get close to me." "Why?" "Because everyone close to me eventually gets hurt." Her chest tightened. For years she imagined confronting a villain. Instead she found a broken man carrying unbearable blame alone. And slowly, dangerously, she began falling in love with him. Meanwhile Nathaniel Crowe watched everything carefully. Behind his charming smile existed something far darker than greed. Nathaniel controlled judges, journalists, and politicians through blackmail and secret financial deals. He built his empire by destroying anyone who threatened him while maintaining the public image of a generous philanthropist. Daniel Reeves discovered the truth years earlier. Nathaniel responded by framing him for fraud. Gabriel accidentally became the perfect scapegoat. When Isabella finally uncovered encrypted financial records connecting Nathaniel to illegal land seizures and money laundering, her entire world shattered. The man she trusted, the man the city admired, was the real architect behind countless ruined lives. And Nathaniel knew she had discovered the truth. That realization arrived too late. One rainy evening Isabella returned home to find her apartment destroyed. Furniture overturned. Glass shattered. Photographs ripped apart. And painted across the wall in red letters. "Stop digging." Fear crushed her lungs. Then her phone rang. Nathaniel's calm voice flowed through the speaker. "You should have left the past buried, Isabella." Her blood turned cold. "You killed my father." A long silence answered. Then. "He made the mistake of believing truth matters more than power." Tears filled her eyes. Before she could respond, the apartment lights suddenly died. Footsteps echoed through the darkness. A masked man lunged toward her. Isabella screamed. Then another figure slammed violently into the attacker. Gabriel. The fight exploded through the apartment. Furniture splintered. Glass shattered across the floor. Gabriel fought with desperate fury while Isabella stumbled backward in terror. The attacker finally escaped through the fire exit. Breathing hard, Gabriel grabbed Isabella's shoulders. "Are you hurt?" She burst into tears. Not because she was afraid. Because she finally understood. Gabriel had been protecting her long before she realized it. And now the real war had begun. Nathaniel retaliated brutally. False accusations flooded media outlets overnight. News stations claimed Gabriel manipulated markets. Investors abandoned Hart Global. Board members resigned. Friends disappeared. Within weeks Gabriel lost nearly everything. Yet he refused to expose confidential victims connected to Nathaniel's crimes. "Why won't you defend yourself?" Isabella cried one night. Gabriel looked exhausted. Because innocent people will suffer if certain files become public. You're sacrificing yourself. Somebody has to choose decency. That was the moment Isabella fully loved him. Not because he was powerful, but because he remained good while the world punished him for it. Then Nathaniel struck his cruelest blow. Gabriel's younger sister, Amelia Hart, vanished. Hours later a video message arrived. Amelia sat tied to a chair inside a dark warehouse while Nathaniel's voice echoed behind the camera. If you want her alive, bring me every file you stole. For the first time Isabella saw Gabriel break. Real fear entered his eyes. Because Nathaniel finally found the one weakness Gabriel could not survive losing. For 2 days Gabriel disappeared. Isabella feared he intended to surrender himself. But grief slowly transformed into determination. For years Isabella lived through hatred. Now she finally understood courage. She gathered evidence, contacted former employees ruined by Nathaniel's schemes, and uncovered the location of an abandoned shipping terminal connected to Crow Industries. That night she found Gabriel standing alone beside the Hudson River. Snow drifted silently around him. I'm coming with you, Isabella said. No. You don't get to protect me by shutting me out anymore. Gabriel stared at her for a long moment. If anything happens to you. It won't, she whispered. Because we face this together. Something inside him softened. And for the first time in years, Gabriel allowed himself to believe he wasn't alone. The warehouse confrontation erupted beneath freezing rain and flashing harbor lights. Armed guards surrounded the building. Inside, Amelia sat restrained beside stacks of shipping containers while Nathaniel calmly poured himself whiskey. You always were sentimental, Gabriel, he said casually. Gabriel stepped forward slowly. Let her go. Nathaniel smiled coldly. You should have stayed the villain. People accepted that version of you. Then Nathaniel revealed the final horrifying truth. Years earlier Gabriel's own father secretly partnered with Nathaniel's organization. When Gabriel discovered the criminal network, he tried exposing it quietly. Nathaniel retaliated by framing Daniel Reeves and manipulating evidence to destroy both families while protecting himself. Everything connected. Every betrayal. Every lie. Every ruined life. Isabella felt rage and heartbreak collide inside her chest. Nathaniel suddenly reached for a hidden gun. But Isabella reacted first. She struck his arm with a metal pipe. The weapon slid across the floor. Chaos exploded. Guards attacked. Gabriel fought desperately through them while Isabella freed Amelia. Outside, police sirens echoed closer. Former employees and victims Isabella contacted earlier arrived with financial evidence proving Nathaniel's crimes publicly. For the first time in decades, Nathaniel Crow lost control. Cornered and furious, he screamed at Gabriel. You think you're different from me? We built this city together. Gabriel's face hardened. No. You built fear. I just failed to stop you sooner. Nathaniel attempted escape but authorities arrested him outside the terminal after multiple witnesses came forward. The nightmare finally ended beneath cold morning rain. Weeks later New York looked different. Not because the buildings changed, but because truth finally surfaced. News outlets publicly cleared Gabriel's name. Survivors shared stories of his hidden generosity. Corrupt officials connected to Nathaniel faced prosecution. For the first time in years Gabriel Hart walked through the city without hatred following him. Yet the greatest change wasn't public. It was personal. One quiet spring afternoon Isabella stood beside Gabriel at her father's grave. Flowers moved gently beneath warm sunlight. I spent years feeding hatred, she whispered. Gabriel stared silently at the headstone. You had every reason to. No, Isabella replied softly. I had pain. There's a difference. Emotion filled Gabriel's eyes unexpectedly. I'm sorry I couldn't save him. Isabella reached for his hand. But you saved me. And finally, after years of blame, grief, and loneliness, both of them began healing. Months later, Heart Global reopened its community housing division using recovered funds connected to Nathaniel's criminal operations. Gabriel dedicated part of the company to helping families destroyed by corporate corruption. Meanwhile, Isabella returned to journalism. Not to destroy people anymore, but to pursue truth with compassion. Together they rebuilt more than a company. They rebuilt themselves. One evening while sunset painted Manhattan gold and amber, Gabriel stood beside Isabella on the rooftop of Heart Global Tower. The same building she once entered seeking revenge. Now it felt entirely different. Isabella smiled softly. When I first met you, I thought you were the villain. Gabriel laughed quietly. And now? She stepped closer. Now I know the real monsters are the ones who make people stop believing in goodness. Gabriel gently rested his forehead against hers. But you didn't stop believing. No, she whispered. Because you reminded me broken people can still choose kindness. Below them the city lights slowly flickered alive. Beautiful. Hopeful. Alive. And for the first time in a very long time, neither of them feared tomorrow anymore. So wherever you are watching from today, keep believing in better days. Keep fighting for your dreams. Keep protecting your heart. And never stop believing that light can still exist even after the darkest storms. No matter what life has shown you, never allow pain to turn your heart into something bitter. One of the biggest lessons from this story is that appearances can deceive us. The loudest accusations are not always the truth, and the people carrying the deepest scars are sometimes the ones fighting hardest to protect others. If you've ever been misunderstood, betrayed, abandoned, or judged unfairly, remember this: your story is not over yet. Difficult seasons do not define your destiny. Broken moments do not make you broken forever. Like Gabriel and Isabella, many people spend years carrying anger, regret, guilt, or grief. But healing begins the moment we choose truth over hatred, forgiveness over revenge, and courage over fear. Never let the cruelty of others convince you that goodness no longer exists. There are still people with kind hearts in this world. There are still second chances. There is still hope after loss. And most importantly, do not become the monster pain tries to create inside you. Sometimes the strongest people are not the ones who seek revenge, but the ones who choose compassion even after being hurt. Your past may shape you, but it does not have to imprison you. A new beginning is always possible.